Let me ask you a question. Does the phrase small talk make you want to retreat into a good book and not come out for a week? If you've ever found yourself at a social gathering, smiling politely while a conversation about the weather drones on, feeling your internal battery drain with every passing minute, then this is for you. You're not antisocial. You're not shy. You're likely an introvert. And the world often feels like it was designed by and for extroverts. This feeling can become especially sharp after the age of 65. The built-in social structures of work and raising a family often fall away, and the silence can become loud. And when you hear the common advice to just put yourself out there, it can feel like being told to run a marathon when you haven't even been taught how to tie your shoes. But what if I told you that the very thing that makes small talk feel so unbearable, your desire for genuine, meaningful connection, is actually your greatest superpower in building the friendships you crave? And what if the challenge of loneliness in our later years isn't just a social inconvenience, but a critical health issue? Researchers at the National Institute on Aging have found that a lack of social connection can be as dangerous to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day and is linked to a shocking 50% increased risk of dementia. This isn't about being popular. This is about your well-being, your health, and your happiness. So if you've ever told yourself, well, this is just part of getting older, I'm here today to respectfully and completely challenge that idea. Over the next few minutes, we're going to embark on a practical, no-nonsense journey together. This isn't another video filled with condescending platitudes or what some researchers call elder speak, that patronizing way of talking to older adults as if they're children. We've looked at the research from places like Psychology Today and AARP, and more importantly, we've listened to what hundreds of introverted older adults are actually saying in forums and communities online. This guide is built on their real-world experiences. We are going to walk through a step-by-step plan specifically designed for the introvert who hates small talk. We'll start by reframing what it even means to be an introvert. Then we'll dive into a powerful strategy I call the activity-first approach, which allows you to bypass awkward small talk entirely. We'll explore the unique power of purposeful volunteering, how to master small group settings, and the often feared but crucial art of the follow-up. By the end of this, you won't have a script to become an extrovert. You'll have a blueprint to be a more connected, fulfilled introvert. Let's begin by getting one of the biggest myths out of the way. The idea that being an introvert means you're shy, reclusive, or that you dislike people is simply wrong. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of how you're wired. Think of your social energy like a phone battery. Extroverts recharge their battery by being around lots of people in stimulating environments. A bustling party for them is like plugging into a fast charger. For an introvert, that same party drains the battery. You recharge your energy with quiet, solitude, or in deep, one-on-one conversations. So your aversion to small talk isn't a social flaw. It's a feature, not a bug. You hate superficial chatter because you value depth. You're not trying to avoid people. You're trying to avoid the exhausting performance of pretending to be interested in trivialities when what you really want is to connect on a meaningful level. In fact, your introverted nature gives you incredible strengths in friendship. You are likely an exceptional listener. You observe things others miss. You don't need 100 acquaintances. You thrive on a few deep, loyal bonds. This entire guide is about leaning into those strengths, not fighting against them. The goal is to stop trying to play the extrovert's game and start creating a social life that honors your own rules. It's also important to recognize that what you're feeling is a documented, natural part of human development. A fascinating concept from the world of psychology, detailed in journals like Psychology Today, is called intrinsic maturation. It's a long-term study finding that as people age, they naturally tend to become more conscientious, more agreeable, and yes, more introverted. We become more selective with our time and energy, preferring a quiet dinner with a close friend over a loud, crowded event. So if you feel like you've become more of a homebody or less interested in large gatherings than you were at 30, you're not withdrawing from life. You are maturing into a phase that prioritizes depth over breadth. You feelings are not just valid. They are a normal, healthy part of the aging process. Now that we've established that your introversion is a strength, not a weakness, let's get to the heart of the strategy. The single most powerful tool for an introvert is what I call the activity-first strategy. The core principle is simple. Stop trying to force a conversation out of thin air. Instead, connect over a shared, structured activity. When you do this, the activity becomes the centerpiece. It's the bridge between you and another person. Conversation then becomes a natural, low-pressure byproduct of the shared experience, rather than the primary, terrifying goal. Think about it. Imagine walking into a room for a senior social mixer. The pressure is immense. You're expected to just talk? To whom? About what? It's a cold start. And for an introvert, it's exhausting. Now, imagine walking into a room for a workshop on historical gardening techniques. You're not there to socialize. You're there to learn about 18th century rose cultivation. The focus is on the roses. But as you're working with the soil, the person next to you might say, "I've always struggled with black spot on my heritage roses." And just like that, a real conversation has begun. It's not small talk. It's shared interest talk. The secret to making this work is to get specific. The generic advice to join a book club is what frustrates so many people, like our persona, Carol, the retired librarian. A general book club can be a social lottery. You might get people you click with, or you might get people whose tastes are completely different. The key is to find niche groups. Don't just look for a book club. Search for a British history book club or a classic detective fiction club. Don't just join a walking group. Look for a bird-watching walking group or a historic architecture walking tour. The more specific the activity, the more pre-filtered the participants are. You are exponentially more likely to find people who share not just a passing interest, but a genuine passion. This immediately gives you a deep well of things to talk about, completely bypassing the dreaded, "So, what do you do?" level of interaction. The activity provides the context and the content for your first conversations. Finding a shared interest is a powerful foundation, but finding a shared purpose can forge an even deeper, more resilient bond. This brings us to our next strategy, purposeful volunteering. This is about strategically choosing a cause that is deeply aligned with your personal values. When you volunteer for a cause you are truly passionate about, you are immediately surrounded by people who, on a fundamental level, care about the same things you do. For example, if you're a retired librarian who believes in the power of literacy, volunteering at a local library's reading program for children puts you shoulder to shoulder with other people who share that core belief. The conversations that arise won't be about the weather. They'll be about the joy of seeing a child discover a new book or the challenges of funding for public resources. These are conversations with substance. If you're a lifelong animal lover, spending a few hours a week in an animal shelter means you'll be working alongside people who share your compassion for animals. The work itself, cleaning cages, walking dogs, helping with adoption events, creates easy, natural opportunities for connection. You're united by a common mission. A user on a forum for older adults put it perfectly. She said, "I tried the senior center and felt like I was at a high school dance again. But when I started volunteering at the local historical society, I met two women while we were archiving old photographs. We spent hours talking about the town's history. We weren't trying to be friends. It just happened." That's the magic of purposeful volunteering. The friendship is the byproduct of the shared work and shared values. It removes the self-conscious feeling of "I'm here to make a friend" and replaces it with "I'm here to make a difference." And in the process of making that difference, you often find your people. It also helps to overcome that fear many of us have of being a burden. When you are contributing your time and skills to a cause, you're not asking for anything. You are giving. This reframes your social outreach from a place of need to a place of contribution, which can feel much more comfortable and empowering for an introverted person. A core truth for introverts is that large groups are draining, while small, intimate settings are energizing. Therefore, a critical part of building a fulfilling social life is to deliberately seek out environments that foster one-on-one or small group interactions. This is about engineering your social life to fit your personality, not forcing your personality to fit a social event. Big parties, crowded senior centers, or bustling community fairs are often the least effective places for an introvert to form a real connection. The noise and sheer number of people create a sensory overload that makes deep conversation nearly impossible. The key is to shift your focus to venues and platforms designed for smaller scale engagement. One of the most effective modern tools for this is the website meetup.com. While it might sound like something for a younger generation, it has been embraced by millions of older adults for this exact reason. On Meetup, you can search for groups in your local area based on incredibly specific interests. You'll find things like quiet coffee and conversation, amateur photography walks for groups of 4 or 5, or small group museum visits. The very structure of these events is introvert-friendly. They are often small by design, and because everyone has opted in based on a shared interest, the initial awkwardness is significantly reduced. You already know you have at least one thing in common with everyone there. Another strategy is to reimagine places you might already go. For example, instead of just attending a large lecture at a local college or library, see if the speaker is holding a smaller Q&A session afterwards, or if there's a book signing. These smaller post-event gatherings are where real conversations can happen. Instead of a large, impersonal exercise class, look for a small, specialized yoga or Tai Chi studio, where the class size is capped at 10 people. Over time, you'll start to see the same familiar faces, and a sense of community can build naturally without the pressure of a large, anonymous gym. The goal here is to be an architect of your social environment. Consciously choose settings where you are most likely to feel comfortable and where your strengths, like listening and deep conversation, can actually shine. It's not about avoiding people. It's about choosing the right arena to meet them in. All right, let's just take a quick pause here. We've covered some really foundational ideas. Understanding that your introversion is a strength, using the activity-first strategy to bypass small talk, and the power of finding shared purpose through volunteering. We've talked about deliberately choosing small group settings that play to your strengths. These aren't just tips. They are a fundamental shift in approach. It's about creating a social life that energizes you instead of draining you. If any of this is resonating with you, if you've had a little aha moment already, I would be so grateful if you took a moment to tap that like button below this video. It's a small, simple way to let me know that this is helpful, and it tells YouTube to share this guide with more people who might be feeling the exact same way you are. Thank you for that. Now, let's get back to one of the most crucial and often most nerve-wracking steps in this entire process. So you've done it. You joined the historical nonfiction book club. You had a genuinely interesting conversation with a woman named Susan about a new biography on Eleanor Roosevelt. You connected. Now what? This is the moment where potential friendships so often wither on the vine, the follow-up. For many introverts, and frankly, for many people in general, initiating the next step can feel terrifying. The fear of rejection, of appearing needy or desperate, can be paralyzing. We tell ourselves stories like, well, if she was really interested, she would have suggested getting together, or I don't want to be a bother. We must challenge these internal scripts. It's vital to remember that the other person is very likely in the exact same boat. As our social circles naturally shrink with age due to retirements, relocations, and loss, a huge number of older adults are quietly hoping for new connections, but are just as hesitant to make the first move. As AARP notes in their resources on friendship, taking that initiative is often a welcome and relieving gesture for the other person. The key to a successful follow-up is to make it low pressure, specific, and tied to your shared interest. A vague, we should get together sometime, is easy to say and easy to forget. It puts the burden on the other person to figure out what sometime means. A much more effective approach is a simple, direct, and casual invitation. For example, you could say, I so enjoyed our chat about the Roosevelt biography. I was just reading that the local university is showing a documentary on her next Tuesday. Would you have any interest in going? This is brilliant for several reasons. First, it references your shared interest, reinforcing the basis of your connection. Second, it proposes a specific activity, date, and time, which is easy to say yes or no to. Third, the activity itself, watching a documentary, is another activity-first event. It doesn't require 2 hours of forced, face-to-face conversation. You can enjoy the film together and then chat about it afterwards if you both feel comfortable. Another simple script could be, I really enjoyed talking with you. I'm planning on getting a coffee before our next book club meeting. Would you be open to joining me? The phrase, would you be open to, is soft and respectful. It gives the other person an easy out if they're not interested or available, reducing the sting of a potential no. Remember, a friendship is not an accident. It's a project. It's built through a series of small, consistent efforts. Taking that first, slightly scary step to follow up is the single most important action you can take to turn a pleasant acquaintance into a true friend. In our increasingly connected world, it's easy to dismiss online interactions as somehow less real than face-to-face ones. But for an introvert looking to build connections, online communities, when used with purpose, can be an incredibly valuable and low-pressure tool. They can serve as a fantastic on-ramp to in-person friendship, allowing you to build rapport and test the waters from the comfort of your own home on your own schedule. The key here, just like with the activity-first strategy, is to be highly specific. A generic Facebook group for seniors in your town might be just as overwhelming and filled with small talk as a real-life mixer. Instead, search for groups dedicated to your niche passions. Are you an avid gardener? There are likely dozens of Facebook groups for heirloom tomato growers, Midwest native plant gardening, or English cottage garden enthusiasts. Do you love British television shows? You'll find communities dissecting every episode of The Crown or sharing recommendations for cozy mysteries. These spaces allow you to engage at your own pace. You can just read posts and comments for a while, getting a feel for the community. When you feel comfortable, You can like a comment, then perhaps leave a small comment of your own. You are in complete control of the level and frequency of your interaction. This process allows you to identify the people you seem to click with online. You'll start to recognize the names of those who consistently share interesting insights or have a similar sense of humor. Over weeks or even months, you can build a genuine rapport through these shared online conversations. Eventually, this can lead to an in-person meeting, but by then, it doesn't feel like meeting a stranger. It feels like meeting a friend you just haven't seen in person yet. For instance, you might see someone in your British history buffs group mention they live in a nearby town. You could send a private message saying, "I've so enjoyed your posts about the Tudor period. I noticed you're also in the area. A new exhibit is opening at the museum next month, and I was wondering if you might be interested in seeing it together." By the time you make this offer, you've already established a foundation of shared interest and mutual respect. The request feels natural, not random. This method provides a safe, controlled way to vet potential friends and build a connection before taking the bigger step of a face-to-face meeting, making it an ideal strategy for the thoughtful, cautious introvert. Finally, we need to talk about mindset. All the strategies in the world won't work if our underlying beliefs are working against us. One of the most common and corrosive mindsets is the fear of being a burden. This is a thought that holds so many of us back. We worry that reaching out makes us look pathetic or desperate. This fear is rooted in a false premise. It assumes that friendship is a zero-sum game, that in asking for someone's time, you are taking something from them. But true, healthy friendship isn't a transaction. It's a mutually beneficial exchange of energy, support, and companionship. Think about your closest friendships from the past. When a dear friend called you to chat or invited you for coffee, did you feel burdened? Or did you feel happy, seen, and valued? The people you're meant to connect with will feel the same way when you reach out. They are not doing you a favor. They are participating in the co-creation of a relationship that, ideally, will enrich both of your lives. You must learn to give other people the chance to be a friend to you. Another crucial mindset shift is to embrace the role of the initiator. In a world where so many are passively waiting to be invited, being the person who makes the plan and extends the invitation is a position of strength and kindness. It is a gift you give to others. I remember a gentleman I spoke with who, after his wife passed away, felt profoundly lonely. He waited for months for the phone to ring. Finally, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He loved old movies, so he sent a simple email to 3 other men from his old breakfast club. He wrote, "Gentlemen, I'm planning to see the new war movie at the cinema next Saturday afternoon. My treat. Let me know if you'd like to join me." 2 of them came, and it became a weekly tradition. He later told me, "I realized they were just as lonely as I was. They were just waiting for someone to get the ball rolling." You have the power to be that person, to be the catalyst. This isn't about being pushy or aggressive. It's about gently and consistently creating opportunities for connection. It's about understanding that your desire for friendship is not a weakness to be hidden, but a beautiful human need that deserves to be met. And by taking these small, brave steps, you are not only helping yourself, you are very likely answering the quiet prayer of another soul who is also hoping for a friend. And a quick but important reminder: I am not a doctor or a licensed therapist. The information in this video is based on publicly available research, psychological concepts, and the shared experiences of many older adults. It is intended for educational and inspirational purposes only. While loneliness has very real health implications that we've discussed, This guide is meant to address the social and emotional aspects. If you are struggling with persistent feelings of depression, anxiety, or severe loneliness, please, it is so important to speak with a trusted physician or a mental health professional. They can provide the dedicated support and care you deserve. So let's bring it all together. We started this conversation acknowledging a deep truth. Making friends as an introvert after 65 can feel like an impossible task. The world seems to reward the loud, while you find your energy in the quiet. But what I hope you've taken away from our time together is that you don't need to change the fundamental nature of who you are to build the rich, meaningful connections you crave. Your victory doesn't come from becoming an extrovert. Your victory comes from learning to master the art of being a connected introvert. You now have a toolkit. You know that your aversion to small talk is a sign of your depth, a superpower that helps you filter for the very best kind of friends. You have the activity-first strategy, a brilliant way to let a shared passion do the heavy lifting, bypassing awkward introductions entirely. You understand that purposeful volunteering connects you with people who share your core values, creating an instant foundation for something real. You have the wisdom to seek out small group settings where you can truly shine, and the courage to make that all-important follow-up call, knowing that it's a gift, not a burden. And you have the option of using online communities as a safe and comfortable on-ramp to real-world friendship. You don't have to accept a solitary life. That's not your destiny, unless you choose it. Building a social life that fills you with energy and joy is not only possible, it's your right. It begins not with changing who you are, but by embracing who you are and choosing strategies that honor your incredible introverted strengths. Now, I would love to hear from you. Of all the strategies and ideas we discussed today, which one was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the idea of finding niche-specific groups? Or perhaps the reframing of the follow-up as an act of kindness? Please, share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading through the experiences of this community is a powerful reminder that none of us are alone in these feelings. If you enjoyed this deep dive and found it valuable, please be sure to hit subscribe and ring that little notification bell so you don't miss our future guides. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.